So today we're going to be talking about elevating your team. And as a leader, one of the best ways that you can progress is to create future leaders and kind of future managers. And to discuss that with me, I've got Gábor Till. How are you doing, Gábor? You okay?
Hey Chris, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Fantastic. Well, I probably, like the majority of people, have seen you everywhere on LinkedIn. But for the benefit of people that have either maybe just seen your name and not really delved into your content, or have actually never heard of you before, just give me a little bit about you and your background, really.
Yeah, so I have 10 plus years experience in software engineering. Started as a web developer, then eventually I moved to leadership and engineering management roles. And since this year, I'm a full-time mentor. I'm trying to help software engineers to reach their career goals or their ambitions, mostly experienced people. Originally, I'm from Hungary, but what is that? Like 9 years ago, I moved to the Netherlands together with my wife. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
Amazing. And in terms of your career, like talk to me about your experience in terms of management first off, because obviously you mentor people, so it'd just be great to get an idea of your kind of route to and your sort of journey with management.
Yeah. So it's all happened in the Netherlands. I was already here for about 1.5 years now. I was working for a big telecommunication company, where as a software engineer, I felt comfortable doing the daily work. I was always an ambitious person. So I just started to look for opportunities. At the company, it wasn't really possible. They were having a pretty flat structure. So eventually I joined another company as a kind of lead developer there. My responsibility was there to mentor three junior developers. So this is how it all started. Later on, I joined another company, which yeah, they had everything outsourced, and they started to build their internal teams. And this experience was a very important experience to me. I've seen from the first row how my back then manager built up an amazing team from scratch. And later on, this manager helped me. He was basically mentoring me to become an engineering manager. And that experience has really changed the whole game, how I look at teams, how I look at performance, and all these things. Previously, I was just like probably most of the developers, very focused on technology. But having this mentoring experience, this really changed my whole mindset. And nowadays, I say that soft skills are way more important than tech skills.
Does it? So that mentorship from them kind of led you to want to become a mentor to others, and ultimately kind of do your mentoring business that you do now.
Well, I wouldn't say that was the initial thing that kicked me into that direction. So back then, I was just eager to step into a higher position. So again, as a lead developer, my day-to-day job was, let's say, 80% coding and 20% about management-related stuff, going to meetings, strategy meetings, and people-related stuff. But I just realized that 20% was more interesting than the 80%, so the hands-on coding. And at the time, I was already doing coding for like 10 years or so, so I had a good amount of experience. But taking care of people and making these strategic decisions was something pretty interesting to me. So basically, what happened, I just went to my back then manager, and I told him, hey, I really interested about doing this. Can we do something about it? Well, basically, he said that, yeah, I can't really offer you a position like that, but what I can do is I can help you to learn these things. So this is how it all started, and basically we were having very, very good conversations on the spot, really, when something happened. And we basically just sat down, and I could ask my questions and he could reply, and he shared so many amazing ideas on how to deal with the difficult people, how to deal with conflicts, and stuff like that. But as I said, I wasn't really eager about mentoring on its own. So later, and I'm talking about so many years later, maybe 4 years later, when I was working as an engineering manager, but as a freelancer now. Yeah, I just realized that after these years that I'm kind of repeating myself. So what I realize is that people, developer people, very often have a similar, let's say similar problems. So they tend to, as I said, they tend to focus on technicalities, but they are not very good at their soft skills. And what I just realized again is like most of their people in our one-on-ones, I'm keep repeating myself, hey, you should focus on this and that. And I was thinking, okay, I could do a bigger impact if I would say these things, not necessarily one-on-one, but let's say to a bigger audience.
Yeah.
This is where the whole LinkedIn journey started. So I just started to share the ideas, the problems that I was facing on my day-to-day job. And turned out that people are interested about the things that I share. So then one thing followed another, and now I'm here and doing my full-time mentoring business.
Fantastic. Well, I love that. So, I get in terms of obviously creating future leaders within a team. I guess first of all, say you've got a team of 10 people, like just your average 10 software engineers. Are all of them like capable of being leaders, or are there certain personality traits and soft skills that people need to have to actually identify them as potential future leaders?
Yeah. Uh, I think what is important here is that not all of them want to be leaders. So this is where it all starts, right? So we are all different, and we all have different ambitions. I mean, some of these guys and girls just want to be better developers. They want to broaden their horizon, learning this technology, that technology. And not that many of them really want all the responsibilities that come together with being a good leader. I believe that the skills are just like most of the skills, learnable, absolutely. But yeah, it all starts with your intention, right?
So the first thing is to identify who's even interested in becoming a
Yeah,
leader. Like, how would you do that? Is that just through sort of like one-to-ones or?
yeah, yeah. This is very important. So if there's one thing that you should focus on as a leader, I would say this should be one-on-one. I think, or the way I think about teams and high-performing teams, or the relationship between a leader and their team is trust. This is where it all starts. And I believe one-on-one is pretty much the best tool or the best opportunity to do that. You are, as the name says, you are one-on-one with your report. And over time, of course, you have to reach a point where they are not afraid of sharing their ambitions, right? Because be realistic, very often it can turn out that their ambition is to take your position, right? So this is a bit of a tricky situation. But if you have the trust and they can tell you that, hey, I would love to do what you are doing, then you're doing a good job.
I spoke to someone a while ago and said you're not doing your job unless you essentially make yourself redundant eventually by
Absolutely.
getting your team to be so good that they don't need you anymore, which is a scary thought from like why would you want to do that? But it shows that you can kind of succession plan, right? For you to not be there. So do you ever have situations where someone, because like with yourself, you went to your manager and you were like, I want to be a manager. So it's very, very clear when that's happening. Do you ever have people come to you or like people go to their leaders and be like, I want to be a manager, but you know straight away that they're not the right person or they're not ready or anything like that? Like, have you seen that many times?
Pretty much always, I would say.
Every single time.
No, what I mean with it is that most of the time, what I experiencing is that they come to me and they say, well, not that they come to me, so we have these one-on-one conversations, and this is a very important topic that frequently pops up. Hey, what are your ambitions? What do you want to do 3 years from now or 5 years from now? And very often I hear that I want to be an architect, I want to be a tech lead or this manager, whatever. which is all fine. And then we go into this direction and we keep continue the conversation. Okay, what does being a tech lead mean to you, or being an architect means to you? And what turns out almost all the time is that what these guys and girls have in mind and what the reality is a little bit far from each other, right? So let's stick to the architect example. So most tech guys see it as, I'm going to be the guy who's going to make all the cool technical decisions, which is pretty much true. But what they don't really see is these architect people very often work alone. They sit in a room. They don't do anything other than reading a bunch of pretty hard technical stuff. They have to make a decision and collaborate with business people. And it comes with a huge responsibility, right? So if they decide to go a whatever technical direction and it's not beneficial for whatever reason to the company, then all the fingers will point to that person. And this is a really, really rough situation.
For sure. So when someone comes to you and they're like, I want to be a manager, is it quite similar from that perspective of being like, right, what do you understand of the role of a manager? And
Yeah.
and is that even quite different from what people expect?
Yeah, I don't think any developer ever told me that I want to be a manager. So what I'm hearing most of the time is that, yeah, either architect or tech lead or something like that. And again, what's important here is to find out, okay, what do you really want? So what does it mean to you? Do you want to still continue coding, or do you want to take care of people? You want to make high level decisions? And what then we just talk about, okay, what does it mean? Okay, let's say you want to do high level decisions. That means that, okay, you're not going to do hands-on coding. You're going to be stay away from people. So the guys and girls that are your teammates, they're not going to have the same relationship anymore, because they will keep continue hands-on coding and you're going to do something completely different. Is this something what you want? Well, surprisingly, very often I hear that, okay, then this is not the direction that I want.
Okay. So first of all, it's identifying whether it's right for them, and then where do you go from there? Like,
Yeah, so yeah, the as you said, the first point is to figuring out, okay, what do they really want? And with that, I'm not talking about the title necessarily, but rather the responsibility, right? So what do you want to do on a daily basis? And once they have it, then basically what we do is we just sit down together and we set up a plan, right? So stick to the, I don't know, architect example. Okay, you want to be an architect. Okay, you are in this point at your career. What would be realistic to achieve this goal? Let's say 3 years. I'm just saying something. So what we are doing then, we build a plan using the SMART framework on, okay, architect is something, but specify it in a smart way, right? So it should be specific, measurable, so on and so forth. And once we have this big goal, then we break it down to smaller milestones, let's say 2.5 year milestones to get there, because it's very important to celebrate every success. If you create a plan for yourself for 3 years and you're not going to do anything other than, I don't know, go on the path for 3 years, or I find very unlikely that you will reach your goal. But if you set up little milestones on the way and you're going to celebrate all of them, that will keep you on track. This is what I'm seeing very often. So just to give you an example, okay, you want to be an architect. Okay, that means you have to read these 3 books, you have to go to this course, you have to join whatever community, you have to talk to, I don't know, the CTO at the company. And it could be million steps, right? The goal is to build up all the knowledge or maybe experience you need. So basically, what we are doing here, it's called personal development plan. So one big goal, a long-term goal, and we break it down to smaller milestones.
okay, it seems like a great way of doing it. And you do you break it down just into as many small steps as possible so that they're just more achievable, and you kind of get that kind of slow, I guess, improvement over time.
Yeah, absolutely. And what is also crucial here, what I mentioned, the SMART framework, right? So if you just give this task to developers, then they will tend to come up with very vague goals or milestones, right? So, I want to be an architect, and that's all what you are. Right? I want to be an architect in 5 years, which is all great, but okay. But again, what does it mean to you? So it's pretty important to specify it as deeply as possible. That's pretty much the key to go into the right direction in the long run.
Sure. And does this work from, say, you've got a team of a mixture of juniors and mids and all that kind of, if you've got a junior being like, I want to get rid of that title, or if you've got a mid being like, I want to get to senior, is a lot of it kind of like, why? Like, and really like breaking down why they want to do it. And then same thing, this is probably the timeline. It's 2 years or 1 year or 6 months or whatever it is. And this is breaking down every single little step to kind of get there. Does it work the same across every level?
Yeah, pretty much. The big difference, if you mention juniors and more experienced guys or girls, that the juniors needs to improve their technical skills, right? So we are talking about developers. So having a stable, good technical knowledge is a must, right? It's not a question. So this is where juniors needs to go, and where I see them falling back is that they are very often afraid to ask questions, because they just afraid that if they ask something stupid, then they will seen as, I don't know, not that knowledgeable or something like that. However, we experienced engineers know that, well, we all been juniors once, right? So we know how it goes. So yeah, so for juniors, it's mostly the technical skills and just being open. This is mostly where I see that they have to improve. More experienced people, over time, they learn how to improve their technical skills. So they are most of the time very good at that. So they don't need too much assistance. But my experience is that they are not that great within their soft skills. And usually this is where I focus more.
For sure. And I guess what holds, I guess, engineering managers and companies back from like the progression of their teams? Like obviously that this seems like quite a simple structure. Like it will take you this long. These are all the steps. Like go and do it. Like you want to be this. Here is all of the steps you need. Like go. Like what? Why don't? Why is like for lack of it, why are you needed? Like why aren't companies able to do this themselves?
Well, it's all about
I mean,
give
great for
them.
you that you are needed, right? Like, because otherwise, don't try not to solve everyone's problem.
Yeah. So yeah, in IT the turnover is just pretty big, right? And hiring people is super expensive. So what you want is you want to keep your people. That's the most effective, the cheapest. So it just makes sense doing it, right? If you take care of your people, if they feel that they are taken care of, then that's just another boost into a direction that they will keep with you at least for a while. So that's I think very very important to focus, and this is what I said in the beginning. So it all starts with the trust, and once you have the trust, then they will share, even that if they want to leave, they say that they are not happy for whatever reason. And that's pretty much the reason why you want to do that. You wanna know ahead of time what's happening, right? If someone just knocks on your door Monday and say, "Hey, I have another job, goodbye," then I think you are doing a very bad job as a leader, because you don't, your people don't trust in you, or something is going in the wrong direction. I can't even tell you how many people were coming to me and saying that, "Hey, for whatever reason, I'm not happy. I'm not happy with my salary. I'm not happy with my title. I'm not happy with this or that." And when I hear this, I'm super happy, because that means they trust in me. I'm their boss, right? So, and having that trust is super important, super valuable, and that also gives me the chance to fix these problems, right? Very often I hear that I'm not happy with the title. This is the easiest things to fix. yeah, just invent your own title and we will give you. Because title is one thing and duty is something very different. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
why
how,
you would do it.
yeah. So like the majority of things that are holding people back is literally keeping people long enough for them to hit the next level. And like you said, it's great that you've had like countless amount of times where people have come to you and said like this is my issue. But like I'm a recruiter. I speak to people all day, every day that are actively looking for work. So I know more than most that the majority of the time it's like I've been looked over for a pay rise, like I want to be a senior, like there's no progression here, like these are all the common reasons why people are looking to leave.
Exactly.
Like how do you create an environment where someone like, because that's quite a daunting thing to go to your manager and be like I'm not happy, like for most people, like I think the typical relationship, like most people wouldn't be happy to go to their manager and be like I'm not happy with the job that you're paying me to do, whether it be the title, whether it be the money that you're paying me, wherever it is. Like that's the standard thing. I think what you're talking about and the environment that you're setting people up with this trust and this sort of safe space is abnormal, whereas I think the normal is people don't feel comfortable to have these sorts of conversations, which is why the easier route is just to go, here's my notice, I'm going to a company where they're gonna pay me,
Yeah.
whereas the company actually could have given those things, but it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
they're just a roadblock there. So how do you create an environment or a culture as an organization where these kind of conversations can happen?
Yeah, it highly depends on really the on the circumstances, right? So uh, on a mid manager level or line manager level, which is an engineering manager or tech lead or whatever, however you name it, is we are still executors, right? So we got things that we have to execute, right, from somewhere an upper level. So our scope is limited. The most we can do is to build an environment where people trust each other, and even if they, you mentioned salary, which is a pretty frequent reason to leave the company. So let's say they're not happy with the salary, but if they're happy with the project they are working on, they are happy with the people they are working on, or you as a leader take care of them, and you just send out an email every once in a while when they do a good job, then they will feel that okay, this is a nice place, maybe not perfect, but okay, but if I go to the next company, will it be perfect? Just because they give you, I don't know, 5, 10K more, will I feel the same as I feel here? Very often, the experience, unfortunately, is not so. There's things are not black and white, right? So what you can do is just build an environment where they feel happy. And again, as I said, it all starts with the trust and then finding out what do they want. And you have to let them do whatever they want. And this is basically what I'm talking about is autonomy or an ownership in collaboration, right? Uh, some or let's say a few organizations, mostly where tech is seen as a cost center, they don't really give as much trust to their IT team, their IT people, I should say, than, for example, I would give. If you give them the autonomy uh, so that they will own the decisions on a certain level, of course, they will own their projects. Well, this will be a fantastic boost. So it will motivate the people. It will build up confidence. And yeah, so when they see that they can directly influence the product or the projects that they are doing, this is a very, very important factor for many, many, if not all of the developers out there. So yeah, autonomy and ownership are super, super important.
Fantastic. And then one of the other points that you noted down was this growth oriented environment and kind of encouraging that. And I think like I was speaking to someone last week and they were talking about the more open you are as a leader, like the more you create this environment where people are going to be open with you. But you can't exactly be saying to your team like, I'm not happy with my salary, like I'm not happy with blah, blah, blah. So that's a tough one. But from like a growth and wanting people to improve and things like that, that's something that you as a leader can be quite vocal about in terms of I'm reading this book, like I'm going to this conference, like I'm following these people on LinkedIn, like do you know what I mean? And create that kind of environment where you're like constantly looking to kind of grow and kind of improve and like encourage people to do that. I guess are there any other parts, because you've kind of said to create as a culture where this continuous learning is just part of the organization and the developer culture. Like how else can you sort of, apart short of just talking about what you're doing, like how else can you implement like self improvement and things like
Uh-huh.
that as part of your culture?
Yeah, so super important topic, and I think what is if I turn a little bit, so where some companies go into south about this topic is that they see these kind of things as a something that must be done in a certain frequency, right? So let's have a knowledge sharing session every month or something like that. I see it very differently. So I think collaboration, and we can also mention mentorship, which is also a kind of collaboration, should be part of the everydays. I always encourage people to do pair programming, to do pair reviewing together. Yes, we always have these monthly or whatever frequent knowledge sharing sessions. But what I also encourage is that, hey guys, if you learned something, then just share it with us. If you work with another team or another department where something useful knowledge, then just book a slot in Friday afternoon, half an hour, 1 hour, just talk about it. That, hey guys, I was working with this technology, I've seen it's beneficial, we could use it, or maybe not. Let's just have a discussion. So what is super important, it should be part of the everydays, right? So it's not like knowledge sharing should be something in the calendar. Knowledge sharing, collaboration, mentoring each other, this should be part of the everydays.
For sure. And I was having this conversation with Danielle last week, and a lot of it was around developer culture, and it was kind of the difference between whether you want to have this environment or whether it's just like a kind of box ticking exercise. And like you said, like
Yeah.
last Friday of every month, like mentorship session is literally just tick. We've kind of done
Yeah.
it. Whereas every day and it being ingrained in your culture, I think is kind of wanting to do it, and a lot of that is behind the why, and if you can get that ingrained that everyone wants to improve and get better, like rather than we should probably do some sort of collaboration once a month, then it just other people will then take the lead on some of this as well, right? It doesn't all have to be driven by you, because I guess
No.
in an
Yeah.
organization where it's all driven by you as an engineering leader, you're just kind of speaking at people and it'd be quite hard to get the momentum going. Whereas if you build it as a culture, like you get people, like you said, being like, hey guys, like I've learned this thing, like, or I've found this conference, or like just continuing to share stuff. So does it kind of snowball a little bit like that? Like you kind of share some stuff, you encourage people, and then it just kind of it kind of takes over a little bit.
Yeah, so with these things, what I experience works very well is that you have to just a little bit kick some butts time to time, right? And so what I mean with that is like the last few times I was an engineering leader, I had to deal with teams and people that were really not used to this kind of mindset, right? And what happens here is that you start saying the same things that I said before, right? So guys, do pair programming, or guys, sit down together and solve something together. do this, do that. The beginning, for a while, depends on the people, of course. You have to keep repeat yourself, like you do sprint planning, let's say, and there's I don't know, a hard task coming in. Like, hey, wouldn't it be a good idea if, I don't know, you and you would sit together, brainstorm on the solution a little bit, and stuff like that. So I'm talking about these little things on an everyday. So I don't really believe that you have to push people and saying, okay, now you have to pair program from 10 till 11:30 or something like that. That's not gonna work, right? And of course, you have to let the people know what are the benefits, so why we are doing it. That's very important. And after a while, what I noticed is I don't know, in a daily stand-up, they just say, oh, I don't know, I was having a session yesterday with my buddy about this and that. So yeah, what happens is at the beginning, you have to just keep repeat yourself saying that, okay, let's do this because it's beneficial for us. We want to share knowledge. We want to, that's the kind of mindset that we want to have in the team. And after a while, I mean, we are talking about smart people, right? So they will understand, and after a while, it will be just part of their routine. They will not even think about it actually anymore. So, and that's the best part. What I just said again. So I've seen happening many times that person A said, hey, I would love to learn more about Azure. I'm saying something. And we had another guy who was more experienced in that. And he was working on a different project. And that guy just after a while booked a slot with this other guy. Hey dude, check this. I learned whatever. And they were just having a session together and teaching the other guy about these things, which is amazing, without them telling anything. So if these things are happening, then I think you are doing a good job.
Fantastic. And I guess, like you said, a lot of it comes down to implementing this growth mindset and kind of mentorship as a sort of culture. And I guess a lot of that like could be setting people up with like mentors when they join the business and stuff like that, because it could be particularly as a, say for example, like a director of engineering, VP of engineering, like obviously if you've got like quite a large team, it's hard to look at every single different little milestone for every single different person and elevate like every single different member of the team. So you've got to have your future leaders and stuff like
Yeah.
that mentoring other people. How would you go about if someone doesn't have this kind of like mentorship sort of environment set up? How do you go about assigning someone to like a mentor and things like that from the structure that you've got?
Yeah, so when we talk about mentorship, I think it's important to distinguish two directions. So we could talk about kind of technical mentor, and let's just use the phrase soft skills. So if we talk about a kind of technical mentor, then I would always recommend people to find someone who's just slightly ahead of that given person, right? So because I don't know, if you talk about the junior and I would assign a tech leader next to the junior as a mentor, and there in between probably they have like what 5, 6, 7, 8 years of difference. So
The gap's just too big to.
yeah, exactly. And you know, I started coding, yeah, God knows when. I've forgotten a lot of things that would be very useful for a junior. But if I just let's say I pick a meteor developer and I'm saying, okay, here's a junior guy, please help him. I'm not gonna say that mentor him. That's a little bit, maybe a little bit frightening to someone, but it's just help him. And if I would go even one step back, so when someone joins a team as new in a company or new just in a team, I always assign a buddy, right? So, okay, whatever problem you have, here's your buddy and he will help you. It's very important to pick the right person here. I think for obvious reasons. So this is one of the things about technical skills. So tech mentor always finds someone who's just slightly ahead of you, a few steps ahead of you in your career. In soft skills, I think the opposite is true. So the more experienced people you can find, the better. Uh, I don't know, someone having on a management level probably could share really a lot of mistakes, actually, what they've been through. And if I just talk my example, like I was also very afraid as a junior asking questions. I was a terrible communicator. I had terrible presentational skills. I was always full of ideas, but I very often failed to sell my ideas. What I'm talking about is even to my colleagues, where I was kind of more confident because, yeah, tech to tech conversation is, I think, easier. But very often you have a good idea that could help the business, but then you have to sell, put in quotes, sell the idea to non-technical people, to business people. How you do that, that's something that you have to learn. And if you do it well, that's gonna be extremely beneficial for your career, because if you manage to do this, then they're gonna be seen as someone who's having always great ideas, and whenever then they next time talk about promotions or salary raise, your name will pop up for sure.
Yeah. So as an engineering leader, then, like, I guess just some sort of parting thoughts. Like, what else can engineering leaders be doing to create this kind of environment where people are getting mentored and people are like continuing to progress? Because you might have a team where everyone's just kind of fine, like, and like everyone's quite happy with their job,
Yeah.
like kind of middle of the road. Like, if you wanted to kind of get the ball rolling and kind of create this as like a culture, what would you do? What would you do first, and like how would you kind of get this going?
Yeah, so yeah, there's indeed a phenomenon where you have teams where they are just feel comfortable, they are okay doing whatever they've been told to do, and there's nothing wrong with it. That's the very important. But what is also very important is that you can always improve, right? And I think this is what they have to understand first. So whatever we do, you can always do it better. And the only way to know what is better if we try it out. And I think what is very important as a leader, you should never say to people that we're gonna change things or you shouldn't really say that we're gonna change the way we work. Never say this, because that's going to be an endless conversation with them, because they don't want to change anything. What you have to say is, we're gonna experiment with something. If it works, great. If it doesn't, then we're gonna find out something else. I find this the best way to sell your ideas. Even these kind of people, or this kind of atmosphere where people feel okay or whatever. So then you just say, okay, then we're gonna experiment with something else. We're gonna experiment with I don't know, doing things like this or doing things like that or whatever. And after a while, we will sit down and we will talk about it. Not even after a while, whenever you have something to tell me, just feel free to say it, right? So this is, I think, the way to go.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's a lot less forever and indefinite, isn't it? Like, if you, for example, if you're like, we're going to experiment with like a buddy system, like, and this is how we're going to do it, versus like we're implementing a buddy system. Like, if you're implementing it from there, they're like, right, this is forever. Like, this is here. Like, I
Yeah.
don't like this. Like, but do you know what I mean? Immediately, it's just got alarm bells might start ringing. Whereas even if they don't like the idea of the experiment of something, they'd be like, oh, like, well, I'll just tell them that I don't like it, but I'll give it a go. Like, and a lot of it, like you said, even going back to the nature of like the job of an architect, the nature of having a buddy, like the there's probably benefits of having one that they won't know about until they've had one. Whereas they might have negative thoughts about it or anything like that. But this will at least get them to kind of try it, and you can always take it away if it doesn't work. But you're more likely to get people to try it. So no, I love that. Well, I really really appreciate your time. Great to get so much advice from you, and I was kind of chatting to you before about kind of where you get your inspiration from and things like that. And you said instead of books, you kind of just kind of subscribe to newsletters and things like that. Now, obviously, you've got your own one, right, as well.
Yeah, so that's what I see happening, or at least to me, in the past some years since I started really go into this engineering management path, is that the beginning of my career there were books out there, and you could read them, you could find a couple of blogs, and that was pretty much my source of inspiration or the source of growth, next to of course going to events and talking to people. But what is happening nowadays is there's just so many fantastic people sharing their thoughts. LinkedIn or on X or whatever, I find LinkedIn much better from that perspective. So basically, this is what I'm doing. I'm following really a lot of fantastic people on LinkedIn. I subscribe to a lot of newsletters, and I have to say I don't read books anymore. These kind of, books are still great, so don't get me wrong, but they take an enormous amount of time out of my life, and having my job, my business, my family, 2 children, I have to be very cautious on how I schedule things. And to be honest, it's way easier to read a newsletter in 5-10 minutes than finding every day at least half an hour or an hour to read a book, which is always the same topic. So it's a bit tiring compared to LinkedIn and newsletters. That is just a lot of different informations. So I pretty much into this route for like at least 1.5 years now, and I really can just recommend everyone to look around on LinkedIn. You will find the people that are ahead of you with a few steps in your career, and they share amazing tips on how to go to the right direction. So I really can just recommend.
Yeah, for sure. Like I'd never thought about that in terms of newsletters, to be fair. Obviously they're super easily consumable. Like you can read in like 5-10 minutes on your phone, which is awesome. But like you said, like I know books that I've been recommended to read like 3 years ago that I still haven't got around to yet. And even at like that's 3 years since it was recommended to me, let alone how long ago the book was actually written. Like probably a lot of the things that you use day to day don't exist like in the book, right? So you've kind of got newsletters that are ever evolving and kind of people in the real world dealing with real problems like right now, like every single week. And I think there's so many different ones that, for example, it's like with authors, you might sink 5-6 hours into a book and then be like, well, I didn't really agree with their point of view, like by the end of it. Whereas you could read someone's newsletter and be like, like that one's not for me. Read someone else's and be like, oh, cool, like they're great, and you can kind of go cast like a wide net, find your favorites, and then kind of follow them and continue to get up to date information. So no, I really appreciate that as an insight. And if anyone wants to kind of follow you or get in touch with you, find out more about your kind of program and stuff, is LinkedIn the best place? I'll obviously put all of your links and stuff along with the pod, but is LinkedIn the best place to get in touch with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn is a great way to get in touch. So I'm pretty active there. I think pretty much every weekday I'm there in the mornings usually. So if you send me a DM or I will answer you in maximum 1-2 days. So yeah, LinkedIn is a great place to catch me.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time. Have a lovely weekend, and I'll catch you soon.
All right, Chris. Thank you so much again. Enjoy your weekend. Ciao.
That's fine. Bye.